So I was looking out the window the other day, and I noticed sap dripping from a maple tree where I had cut a branch off earlier in the winter. Not sure why I cut the branch off, but anyways. So I tried to collect some of the sap to bring into the house to boil down, but I realized that I would have to come up with another collection solution. I thought, well, why not use buckets like they do in the maple processing stands? So I got some little tin buckets from Walmart in the Easter Bunny section. Sorry kids, I bought them out, and decided to make some lids out of scrap wood that I had laying around the house. Used the jigsaw and bandsaw to make these lids, and then I used the rotor to make a lip on them so that they wouldn't fall. They make a nice seal and wouldn't fall off the tins in the wind. I created a jig by clamping a piece of scrap wood to the left of the rotor table, controlling my work area, which allowed me to control how deep the cuts went into my lids. Testing for fit, it seems to have worked the first time, so I carried on to make 9 more lids. Using a 1/4-inch drill bit, I drilled 2 holes into each lid so that I could make some holes for the tubes to carry the sap into the containers. So this video is probably longer than it needs to be, but apart from showing the process, I also want to test out the functions on my new phone, and since I'm creating this entirely in iMovie, I want to try time-lapse and different speed changes. So I've sped things up with the camera, doing time-lapse and slow-mo to slow things down. These 1/4-inch drill holes are for inserting tubing that's going to be made out of polyethylene. Polyethylene tubing is used in the food industry, so I'm told, and it should be good for carrying the sap. Cutting the tubes at various lengths and inserting it into the lid, that's going to allow me to drill 2 holes into the tree at different points, and I'll be able to insert those directly into the 1/4-inch holes in the tree to avoid having to get spouts and stuff like that. So when I drill into the tree, I want the drill to go in 1.5 inches, and I'm told that's optimum for most trees. So instead of putting tape on my drill bit, I use a sanding sponge. I drill through that, and that leaves about 1.5 inches of drill bit left over. It's just a quick fix, I guess, and the sponge doesn't get destroyed when I'm drilling. When the sponge touches the bark on the tree, I stop and insert my tubing. I mostly selected trees that are in the yard or very close by, just for ease of getting to them and emptying them. I don't know how fast, or I didn't know how fast they would fill up at first. What I'm doing here is getting the eye screw put in, the eye screw hook, and into the tree to hold the tin itself, and then I drill into the tree with a 1/4-inch drill bit at 2 different heights and different sides of the tree to optimize the sap flow. So the next part is I insert the tubing into the tree about, as far as I can. It seems to go in about halfway, and the sap begins flowing almost immediately. Some of the trees, it was coming out before I could get the tubes cut and into the tree, so a lot of them are pre-cut. And about an hour later, when I checked the sap level, they were about 1 inch deep, full of sap, these little tins. And I went out 24 hours later and harvested pretty well full containers. These are some of the ones that I put actually in the yard. Yeah. So taking the collection tin off the hook, I'm able just to move the lid slightly and pour it into my bucket. I hang my bucket on the hook while I do that to avoid having it fall over and spill on the ground. And then just replace the lid and hang my tins back on the hook where they are. And takes me about 5 minutes to collect from the 10 tins that I had set out. And I got a couple inches in the bottom of a new large pail, which I believe worked out to probably 4 or 5 liters worth of sap. So far, a better perspective. It's recommended if you're going to collect over several days to store your sap outdoors in a cool area, possibly in the shade or in some snow. So the next stage is boiling the sap down. And what I do here, it says that about 90% of the water has to be boiled off in order to get syrup. So what I do here is I use 3 filters, coffee filters, to filter out the impurities directly out of the tree, and then I pour it into a pot on a propane burner outside. If I do it inside, I guess it's quite a bit of sticky steam that can stick to your walls and ceiling and stuff like that. So the majority of the boiling down is outside, and later on I would move it inside to do the final evaporation process on the stove. As I'm boiling down the sap, I pour more fresh sap in from the bucket and filter it when I get down to about 50%. Just something I noticed seemed to help boil faster and bring to a consistency that would be suitable for bringing it inside to do the final evaporation process. As more of the water is boiled off, leaving more sap in the container, it tends to get darker, and it's almost ready for bringing inside and put it into a pan to do the final evaporation process. And I'll boil that on high for a while until it turns darker and bubbles start to form on top. Then it's ready to be filtered again once I've cleaned the filters and the receiving container, and I pour it through all 3 filters again, and that gets out some of the any impurities that got into it while it was boiling outside. So what I've discovered is making your own maple syrup. You have to do a lot to get a little, but the little that you get sure is tasty. These are some of the materials I used: collection buckets, material for a lid, I used wood, and hooks and tubing.